Hello and welcome. In this module, we'll be looking at how to link scales, some of our reports in detail, and how to give feedback. First, we're going to explore a more sophisticated approach to interpreting personality profiles, linking scales. While you can read and think about the scales one by one, a richer understanding emerges when you consider how multiple scales interact and influence a candidate's behavior. Let's dive into an example to illustrate this concept. Suppose we have an individual with a STEN score of 8 on the scale, assertive. This score suggests they are inclined to make their presence felt in a group and enjoys being a fairly dominant force in many situations. While this insight is interesting on its own, pairing it with another scale can provide a much richer impression of the person. Now, consider that this individual also has a STEN score of 1 on the listening scale. This combination tells us that they have a strong preference for talking and place less emphasis on listening to others. Depending on the job role, this might be a cause for concern. On the other hand, if the individual scored an 8 on listening, we could infer that they might see themselves as someone who takes time to consider the opinions of others. So, while they are direct when voicing their opinions, they are also likely to have taken the time to listen first. As you continue to add scores to your thinking or daisy chain the scales, you can build up hypotheses about a candidate. These hypotheses can then be explored further in your discussions with the candidate. The hypotheses you develop will vary depending on the role. For example, you might explore how the scales interact to impact customer service style or project planning. This method takes some practice, but it is a rewarding way to utilize the data. Next, we are diving into our most comprehensive tool, the Insights Report. This report delves into key findings from an individual's personality profile, examining how they are likely to respond to various aspects of the workplace, such as people, tasks, demands, rewards, and culture. Additionally, it includes guidelines on how to use the report effectively and maximize its benefits. The Insights Report is designed for easy use by recruiters, line managers, HR, and learning and development professionals. We've ensured it's user-friendly and straightforward to interpret. The report begins with a section on Understanding this report, found on page 2. It's crucial to read through this section for better comprehension. Following that, you'll find the profile summary, which provides scores at a glance. Next, we have the strongest preferences page, highlighting areas where the individual scores particularly high or low. While this snapshot is useful, I encourage you to explore the other sections for a deeper understanding. In the rest of the report, you'll find a breakdown of the scales by headings. These headings will be the dimension headings such as interpersonal style, or your bespoke headings if you've designed a bespoke personality questionnaire. Here, the scale scores are accompanied by explanations of what the scores mean, making it easier to interpret without any guesswork. While the format remains consistent across different scales, the detailed descriptions provide valuable insights into the individual's personality. Each section is designed to give you a comprehensive understanding without needing to interpret the data yourself. The response style section is included in all off-the-shelf personality questionnaires and can include it in your bespoke questionnaire if you choose to add it. This scale shows how someone responded to the questionnaire. A high score might indicate a socially desirable response, while a low score might suggest self-critical tendencies. Special care must be taken when interpreting scores on the Social Desirability scale. If the scale indicates a high level of social desirability, we cannot assume that the respondent has deliberately faked their responses. We also cannot screen the candidate out, as research has shown that for some roles, social desirability is positively correlated with job performance. If the scale indicates a high level of social desirability, we can be even more rigorous than usual in collecting evidence to corroborate the information the candidate has self-reported by asking probing questions during the subsequent exploration discussion. We recommend that social desirability scores are not fed back to candidates or assessors, since they are very susceptible to misinterpretation. Next, let's move on to the interviewer report, another favorite particularly among hiring managers. This report is structured similarly, but serves a slightly different purpose. The interviewer report includes the candidate's strongest scales, so where they have scored particularly high or low in a scale. However, it also generates tailored, competency-based interview questions. These questions are designed to help you probe deeper into a candidate's responses. For example, if a candidate scores low on listening, the report suggests asking, "Can you tell me about an occasion where you have chosen to listen rather than talk?" This approach helps in understanding the candidate's behavior through real-life examples. This report is a valuable tool for hiring managers, allowing them to dig deeper into candidate profiles with tailored questions. It's a staple in many of our clients' hiring processes and can also be used in feedback sessions for development purposes. Last, we're going to take a look at our personal feedback report. This report is designed to provide candidates with valuable insights into their personality, strengths, and development areas. This report can be a very positive tool to send out, especially if you're not providing direct feedback. It offers candidates something valuable in return for the time they spent on assessments, enhancing their overall experience. Let's dive in. First, candidates will encounter an Understanding the Report page. This section is crucial as it highlights the important points around personality, helping candidates grasp the essence of their feedback. The next section dives into the candidate's personality. This report is similar to the Insights report, but with some key differences. We've removed numerical scores, which could cause candidate anxiety. Instead, we focus on whether a candidate leans more towards the left or right on each scale, making the feedback more strengths-based. To further emphasize strengths, we've also renamed some of the scales. Here on the development page, candidates can see areas where they might grow and develop certain personality traits. Next, we have the Career Choices page. This section outlines where candidates might thrive in their careers and where they may need to work harder to sustain performance. We then move on to Adapting Work Styles, which offers practical tips on how candidates can leverage their strengths in different work environments. This section is particularly useful for adapting to various job roles and work settings. The last page is the Reflections page. This is where candidates can reflect on their key strengths and consider how to apply them effectively in their careers. In our last section, we're going to talk about the importance of giving feedback using our tests and how our personal feedback reports can be an invaluable tool in this process. When giving feedback, it's important to use the right language. Start with self-perception phrases like, "Your responses describe yourself as someone who." Then use terms such as "the results indicate," "suggest," or "might mean." Remember, while our assessments are reliable, they're not infallible. We then bring in the norm group, so in comparison to the norm group, and then the strength of preference based off the STEN score, for example, fairly strong. The personal feedback report is a great resource to use during feedback sessions. It is written in the second person and is strengths-based, offering a gentler way to discuss the candidate's traits. You can simply read from the personal feedback report and then ask open-ended questions about each scale. Questions like, "In what kind of situations has this been a strength for you?" Or, "How has this trait helped you in your work?" are excellent ways to engage the candidate in a meaningful discussion. If you prefer using the interviewer report for feedback or interviews, it's also a great starting point. This report generates competency-based questions for you, making it easier to dive into specific areas of interest. In summary, providing feedback using our tests and reports is a powerful way to help candidates understand their strengths and areas for development. Whether you use the personal feedback report or the interviewer report, the key is to engage in meaningful, constructive conversations that help candidates grow.